Are we recording? Okay. Welcome to the Helm Developer Stand-Up. This is March 14th, 2019. First, we'll go over any announcements, then we'll do stand-ups from core team, have discussion. After that, we have a few discussion topics today. So I don't have any announcements right now. Does anybody have anything that wasn't on the notes? No? Okay, let's go into stand-ups then. See, you want to start, Josh?
Sure. Yeah, so I met with a few people this week about the Lua system. I want to talk a little bit more about that in discussion. I also have trying to get the docs together for the Helm 3 repo stuff. So that's it for me. Professor?
Helm Summit stuff, there's been a little bit of traffic among the organizers this week. We're trying to finalize on the venue for Helm Summit EU. So it's still a little bit early, but it looks like we're finally narrowing it down to just a few places. So again, that's coming up in September of this year. I got the last of the Sprig updates done and released, and so there's a new PR in there for that. And other than that, I think I've only done a little bit of PR reviewing on a couple of community-based PRs this week. So that's it for me. I will pass it on to Martin.
So I was bug sharper this week, just keeping through the bugs. Managed to keep it below 620, so that was okay. Thanks to Matt Fisher for being my tag buddy. He jumped in there quite a lot and got those tags in. I did some PR reviews, and I also pushed in the PR for making standard application charts to be able to use them as library charts, so that we don't render the templates. If you look at the PR, it's not as big as it seems because it's the test charts I put in is probably bloating it out slightly. And apart from that, I think that's it. So I'll hand off to Adam.
Yeah, so this week did a bunch of PRs reviews for Helm 3, in particular Fisher's for the action package. Did a lot of refactoring there. Also met with some people to talk about documentation changes for Helm 3. So we're talking about getting together like an FAQ kind of thing. Also like a keeping record of V2 to V3 changes. So to not block on development, what I've done is created a label for PRs that we can tag that require a release note. So it's changes that we really want to point out to the user, like if a flag changed or something like that, that might break any sort of scripting or just notable changes that users might need to be aware of. Also implemented a vanity import path, which we can talk about later in the discussion because that's going to impact open PRs as well as your development environment. So I just want to make sure everybody understands what the impact of that would be once that's merged. Okay. Let's see, Scott, did you want to give a stand up?
Hey, sure. Sorry, I'm a few minutes late. My stand up is pretty quick. I've been kind of sick and out of it a little bit. Finally recovering, but two quick things. Well, one actually, just made a PR to fix the Helm hub search has been broken, and that should fix it. I think it's already, I believe, I'm not sure who Dean Coakley is, but I guess he's someone who worked on Monocular. Adnan passed it his way, and I think it's up for review for him. The other thing I said I would do and I haven't done yet, one of them is automating the hub deployments. I have all that information, and I just kind of put that on pause while I was getting acclimated in my new job, and then I kind of got sick. So I'm going to dive back into that because that would be very beneficial, so people aren't confused. The only, I guess there is actually one last thing is the LastPass. I don't know how much at this point people are using it, but there are a few folks who haven't sent their preferred email. It's not, critical that you do, but if you want to use that shared folder, please do that, and we'll have you added. And that's it.
On that last one, for anybody who wasn't here when Scott set that up, that's what CNCF prefers us to use as a password manager for the core maintainers who are responsible for a few different services.
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, and actually, I should probably reiterate if, I realize this may not be the highest priority in all the other things that we're doing, but a recommendation is if you think you might use also use a personal account, then you probably want to pick an email that's different because it can cause some weird problems. And what you can do is you can link your personal account from, getting set up with the CNCF account, which is an enterprise one, or a Teams or enterprise one, I guess. And then you can link your personal account. So that's why I was asking for a preferred email, even though we know what your, get emails are. Thanks.
Also, anybody else, feel free to use Adam's email.
Cool. Yeah, and Adam, just not to drag this out, but just to kind of wrap it up a little bit, for email accounts that allow, oh, I didn't turn on my video. Sorry, not that you need to see my face, but for email accounts that don't, that do allow sub addressing, like with a plus sign or whatever, that's kind of a nice thing. I think I had already been told by Michelle that Microsoft.com emails don't allow that, sadly. But yeah, so if you're saying that you don't use this for LastPass already, or you do and you just don't care, then that's cool. But I just wanted to make you aware that if you already are using it, it can cause some problems. So that's it. Okay, dope. Thanks. Oh, right. Sorry, I didn't actually. It's my round, isn't it, to pick someone. I'm not sure who hasn't gone because I came in late. Could someone help me?
I can go. I haven't gone yet.
Okay, thanks.
So this last week has been a lot to do with Helm 3, mostly. So it's been taking some of Matt Butcher's work, which was to do with the Helm template stuff, with refactoring into the action package, and as well, just like the major action package refactor, which got in today. So thank you to Adam for reviewing that massive PR and getting that through. So a huge amount of architecture has been kind of changed in there. So we're no longer using a lot of the old Tiller cruft that was in there. So now we actually got a good client package to use. I think that was it. And then as well, there was a couple of community PRs that I was taking a look at last week. So nothing else really big. Oh, and the last thing as well is that there was a community PR for storing PRs, or not storing PRs, storing Helm home configuration inside of using the XDG base directories specification. The library that it was using had a few like design questions that I had. So instead of going and forking that library and then making changes there and doing all that, instead I vendored that and incorporated that in a PR. So it's a lot of a cleaner API to be used inside of Helm. So now we can actually use that. So yeah, that's what I've been working on this week. This next week, probably going to be working more with Adam on like the FAQ, helping out with just project planning and going forward with that kind of stuff. So that's what I'll be working on. Who else from the Peanut Gallery has not gone? I think that is all the core maintainers.
Did Justin go?
I'm occasionally a core maintainer. Tomorrow I have a mostly free day. I'm going to try to jump in and help something, and that just be some triage, probably me just catching up on loose ends. But if tomorrow, if anyone needs any help with anything, please let me know. I'm doing a lot of CI internally now. I'm responsible for quite a bit of internal CI. So I was thinking about taking a look at Helm 3, what we've got set up for there, and maybe take on maybe some of that. I'm really interested in, if we make a robust CI with all the permutations and use cases, perhaps we can cut out some of our support work in the future. If we can start, even if they're failing now, we get the tests out there. Yeah, but yeah, I'll just be doing what I can tomorrow. I pretty much got I'm slated for half a day a week now. So use me if you can. I'm going to try to help out.
Awesome, thanks. All right, on to discussion topics. And since I'm leading the meeting, I am bumping mine up to be the first because I can do that. So what I've done is on the Helm Docs website, I've added a redirect for a vanity URL. So this affects your Go path in that Helm 3 will sit in a different location than Helm 2, which one is really nice for developers because you don't have to worry about rebuilding your vendor directory to switch back and forth between V2 and V3. It also has a disadvantage to Helm developers because you have to remember to go to a different directory for Helm 2 versus Helm 3. I think it will be useful moving forward. I set it up so we can have other projects be under that import path as well. The impact of this for open PRs is you will have to rebase. There's going to be no getting around that. So that's why I am waiting to merge it until I talk to everybody. And there's a couple bigger PRs out there, so I will help anybody that runs into issues with rebasing. I also have a sed script that will automatically rewrite the import paths if you need it. So you can always check out if there's a file that has a conflict. You can just check out your copy of it and then run the sed script over it and just continue your rebase that way. So if anybody runs into issues, I'm willing to help out. Or I'm sure you could grab somebody to help you out if you run into issues with that. So I might leave it up there for a little bit to see if we can't get a few of these merged in today. Otherwise, I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid and just go ahead and do it. If you have any objections, I posted the link in there and feel free to post comments on there.
Adam, one question about that sed script that you mentioned. I can't seem to immediately pick it out in PR 5440. Is that something that might be valuable to add to
it's just a one-liner. It's just a one-liner that I can share.
Okay. Maybe if you just drop that in a comment or something like in that PR, that might be helpful for me for testing or anything else like that. For testing out PR and rebasing, that kind of thing.
Yep, I'll include it.
As far as the PR is concerned, I think this is a great change, especially since we've moved out of the Kubernetes organization and over to the CNCF. Having a separate vanity domain for development moving forward, I think is really fantastic too. And it's really nice that this is also not just for Helm, but it's for any project under the Helm organization. So anyone can take advantage of this too.
Yeah, it just requires a PR against the Helm Docs website to add another metadata tag for a separate project. So, all right. Depreciating Helm 3, Josh?
Yes, depreciating. No, so I sent something to the mailing list to the effect, I don't know how active the mailing list is, but it was to the effect of, does anyone use Helm search? And I only heard from Matt Butcher, and I cannot really think of a time in the past that I've used Helm search other than for sort of demo purposes and showing people Helm for the first time. So that, combined with the fact that all of the OCI, the ever long OCI conversations, we've not really come to terms on standardized search. So basically, I don't think for Helm 3.0 or at least alpha there will be a remote search, and because of that, I'm proposing that we simply drop that requirement for Helm 3 and basically allow people to search things with Hub or come up with the string for their chart on their own.
Is there plans for a remote search in the future?
That question is as deep as it gets, and I might freak out if I go into it. But basically, we need to have an OCI. We either need to have an OCI approved or OCI, something in the OCI spec to do search, or we come up with our own way to do remote search, and it's kind of like a spec on top of the spec. But yeah, this is all the stuff that like Steve Lasker has been pushing on, and it's like, I think there's progress, but it's slow.
Yeah, and also to add some context on there as well. So the OCI specification, they have been nailing down a 1.0 spec, and search is not part of that specification. It's
right.
Will eventually, the rest of the cloud providers, what they'll eventually move to is this OCI 1.0 specification for the API. Stephen and some of the other OCI maintainers have expressed interest in a search proposal. However, there hasn't been any solid proposal or any kind of like practical, nobody's really done the work to go and propose a search API to the OCI specification for a post 1.0. So that discussion hasn't even started at the OCI level yet. But we could, if we were interested in getting search eventually at the OCI level, that would be the right place to go. Right now, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, and we can implement it as a plugin, and I don't know, we can do interesting things like we can even use Chart Museum as like a playground for these types of things. But yeah, it's not something that's standardized at the registry level. So we could still maybe do a local search for the charts that have already been pooled in. But again, like, I'm not sure how useful it really is.
Okay. My thoughts on it are, like if there is an opportunity to have a new remote search, it might be a feature we want to drop from 3.0 and then add search back in as a feature.
Yeah, I mean, it was never really. Go ahead.
If we leave search in as it is and want to swap it out, then we're going to break backwards compatibility. So we can make that call once we understand a little bit more about what our options are for remote
Yeah.
search.
The nice thing is that we can, for Helm 3.0, we can strip down absolutely anything that we don't think we're comfortable of supporting out of the gate with 3.0. And then eventually in future releases, we can go and reintroduce those as new features of Helm 3, as in like 3.1, 3.2. So if we find out eventually that there is actually a way with the existing registry OCI APIs that we could do some form of search, of listing your own repositories or something, we could introduce that in the future. So yeah, we could punt that down the road too.
So is that something you're looking into, Josh, or
Yeah, well,
is there somebody?
I guess like there's still an open question of how we resolve the current repo system and the new stuff, and it's just like I think like we don't even actually have the full spec or plan for what we're trying to do with registries. I just kind of, it's been this back and forth, so it was never really part of any plan to have remote search. It was just sort of assumed. So just like kind of like Helm, like a Helm login, like it's just sort of been assumed. So, but that I think is something we should do.
Cool. We can finish this offline as well.
Yeah.
Because we're out of time.
I gotta bounce. Thanks, guys. I'll talk to you later.
See you, Justin.
Okay, and then Fisher, looks like you had a couple on there.
Yeah, so
you have 30 seconds. Go.
Okay. In the docs, or I mean in the documentation for this, or the meeting notes, there's an issue on there that the contributor member who submitted this PR, I think, asked for if this can be cherry picked into version 2.13.1. So I'm just asking here if anyone has any opinion and could potentially weigh in on this. That would be great. That's all I really asked, is that I mentioned to the contributor that I would bring it up here in the dev call just to see if anyone else wanted to weigh in on this, on whether we should make it into a 2.13.1 or not. The other question that I had on here is when do we feel comfortable to cut a 2.13.1? There's a couple of PRs in there that were regressions in 2.13.0, like the Klog stuff over on Tiller. So I'm wondering, barring that last question, when do we feel comfortable about going for another 2.13.1 release? No opinion?
I have preferences that sooner is better than later because of the weird Sprig library stuff, that there are currently functions in 13.0 that are undocumented and weren't supposed to be there. So
would you mind offline pinging me with that PR so then we can see whether that should be merged into 2.13.1 if it's not already in the milestone?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, thank you. That is all.
Okay, let's go ahead and do assignments then. Issue Sherpa.
Is this the week where we volunteer someone?
I can do it again if you want.
I was just going to stay on until somebody volunteered.
I
all
could-
right, and notes.
Justin also earlier expressed interest in helping with triaging, so he would be a good one to kind of pair with.
And notes.
I can do notes next week.
And who wants to lead?
I can moderate.
Okay, cool. And looks like we're about 2 minutes over, so I think that's a wrap.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.